It's time to see if one of my favorite new shows actually sticks the landing. Hello, everyone. Terrence here with Hollywood Already Did It. If you haven't already, go ahead, like, share, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, ring that bell below. Anytime we have something, you will be among the first to know. The season finale of Poker Face is here. Final episode, episode 10, called The Hook. This episode had a huge hill to climb for me personally, because I thought the last episode was just phenomenal. One of the best shot, best looking, best script that they could possibly have. And so this one had a bit of a, can I compete with that? Or at least tell a story that's compelling enough to kind of make me ride off into the sunset. And it's sort of a mixed bag for me. Look, I think the episode as a whole is fine, but I think we went this entire series setting up Mr. Sterling as this big bad to kind of quickly dismiss of him and basically have this act as a setup piece for season 2. Now, we do get some cool character moments in this, which we'll get on, but this feels more like, hey, this is what we're going to get in the future, and less about like putting a wrap or a close on what, or actually fulfilling some of the things that they led us to believe that this season was kind of going to give us with Mr. Sterling. But here's what happens. We see from Cliff's angle, Benjamin Bratt's character, we see from Cliff's angle that he and Mr. Sterling, after that call, we see it from Ron Perlman's side. Ron Perlman finally shows up. We see from his side that he has sent Cliff on this wild goose chase to go find Charlie. And multiple days pass, months to years. So we do get a bit of mystery of how much time. We now finally get that timestamp of how long this is taking for her to go across and sort of be refound. So a year and some change has been the amount of time that Cliff has done this. And he's been eating fast food and living in hotels. He hasn't been living a life. And his whole goal was always to sort of just be at Sterling's right hand to help run casinos. And now he's out here. This is his job, and he hates it. And he also, we learn, hates his boss. He's not a fan of this. Some of this may have come more in the fact that he has to do this wild goose chase for Charlie. But he finally finds her at the hospital, which is where we see him at the end of the last episode. He calls Sterling, and he's like, let her heal up, and in 2 months, bring her to me. And Cliff's like, okay. So 2 months pass. Charlie's on the mend. She's helped. She's leaving the hospital. She feels good about life. She finds out that her bill has been paid, which she's not entirely sure how how the hospital stuff works. She thought it was like a church, and somebody was paying it pro bono. But she then realizes that, hey, if somebody has fully paid this bill, crap, they got her. So she steps out the hospital and she sees Cliff leaning up in his car, and it's like, either the trunk or the cab, you decide, but you're coming with me. And they take a road trip back. And on this road trip, she kind of just like, well, you got me. I mean, this is it. And she does ask a question, like, I know Sterling made the choice or the decision, but aren't you the one who pulled and killed Natalie? And at that point, he pulls over and he has her reach into the glove compartment and pull out a gun. And in this, she can't pull the trigger on him. She's just staring, but she can't actually get the job done. To which Cliff takes the gun, puts it away, and then they ride off. He takes her to Atlantic City, where Mr. Sterling, Ron Perlman, is waiting for her. And Sterling is he's wanting to do some small talk. He's asking her about her year, and she's like, wait, what are you talking about? He's like, well, I don't want to kill you. And you can tell that Cliff's getting a little antsy in the background. You can see it. His face is like, he's not feeling this. But Mr. Sterling wants to offer her a job. She's like, I was chasing you because you were running, but I got you. He's really like tongue in cheek and the cat and mouse with her. But he's like, hey, my son was doing a dirty deal. He has a tape recorder that he plays the message. He's like, hey, that call that he made that you can hear him saying not here, because he knows that I'm listening, that I can trace the phone. He was talking to Beatrix Hasp, who was a head of this casino here in Atlantic City, and she's the head of the Hasp, and like the spy family, this big mob gang. And we're going to have a sit down with her right now. And they're going to make promises and persuasions to me that they're going to be lying to me about. And I know your ability. And I think that if you can help me out, help me get out of this, let me know what they are and aren't lying about. I'll give you $500,000, give you your car back, fully clean, restored, and you're free to go. And she's like, wait, I'm sorry, what? And he's like, yeah, no harm, no foul. You go on. My son was dirty. He was trying to do dirty stuff against me. I asked him never to work with these folks, and he's doing it. I would have done the same thing that you did. And she's very confused. And she takes her keys and starts to walk off. And then she comes back. She's like, I'm curious. What you got? So then she makes him put that $500,000 and be free message. She records it on the back of the tape so that she can have that as somebody has a warning, like, hey, here you go. I'm good to go. Nobody can renege on this. Mr. Sterling then gives her a purple box and say, hey, as a token, here's a gift. Go ahead. And she reaches in and it's a gun. My brain was very confused as to why he would be gifting her a gun. Like, that doesn't make any sense. We learn as we go along what happened. But then all of a sudden the lights go out and 2 shots ring off and Mr. Sterling is dead. And it appears that Charlie has taken the shot. And then we go to black as she runs out of the casino and Cliff screaming like, oh my God, call security, she killed them. Unlike a lot of the episodes that occur in this season, this is clear who did this. And so it's kind of like, it's underwhelming a little bit to know that this is probably the season finale is the most straightforward episode they have. And it takes away a key player like Ron Perlman at the very start of it. So it's kind of like, oh, that's not what I wanted from that. It does subvert expectations. It's just not as good as a lot of the things that have occurred before it. We then see that Cliff, and while he's waiting for Charlie to be on the mend, he makes a backdoor deal with Beatrice to sort of turn on Sterling. It's clear that he's not been happy with his life. And this seems to be trying to bring Charlie back to him alive. And he's like, I just don't understand that. Like, the plan is to kill this kid. But their plan is to take out Mr. Sterling and then have a patsy set up somebody to take the fall. And he's like, well, I got the perfect person. He starts laughing maniacally. He's like, nope, I got the one. So that's why in that sequence when they're driving, he tells her to reach into the glove compartment because he wants her fingerprints on the gun. So he does that, puts the gun on the side, and he ends up bagging and tagging it so that the fingerprints can stay fresh on there. So that makes the whole reaching into the present and pulling out a gun thing make more sense because it was switched. Mr. Sterling's whole point is to put a name tag of Charlie when she worked at the casino and give that back to her. But instead, Cliff takes that out, throws it away, and puts the gun in there, the gun that he had been using. He also then sets up, it's a known sort of tick that Mr. Sterling had with a casino chip. But he switches it out from a regular chip. He uses a black light chip so that when the light goes off, which he has set up, he can mark where his chest to get off a clean shot. So that's exactly what happened. When she picks up the gift and has the gun, she's looking surprised. Cliff hits the button, lights go out. He pulls out his gun, takes 2 shots, swaps her gun out, the gun that he actually had in his holster out for the one that he had with Charlie putting the fingerprints on, and then off to the races. Everybody believes Charlie Cale has just murdered Mr. Sterling. Charlie ends up staying in the hotel. She finds a room, escapes in there, and she calls Luca, the FBI agent who was an underling at that point, but the FBI agent from the episode with Judith Light, which is one of my favorites. He has now been promoted because some of the stuff that Charlie did with that case, and then the email that he gave her, like he just now has moved up, and thanks to her, so he has a little bit of care for her. She calls and is like, "Hey, I'm in trouble. Something's happened. What do I do?" And he's like, "Turn yourself in." And then he calls right back. He's like, "I'm just kidding. Don't turn yourself in. That'd be a bad idea." And then he lets her know that I'm here. I'm a head of FBI task force now. Like, I'm here at Atlantic City. You're in a lot of trouble. You need to just get the hell up out of here. Like, I know you want to find out who did this and like normally how you normally do, but you need to be on the run. This family, you're in some mob stuff now. This family is connected, and they're going to do everything possible to. You're the patsy. So whether you did it or not is irrelevant. You just need to get out of this alive. Get out of here. And he's like, I'll dig into some stuff. She manages to get out of the hotel by using a party bus and finds upon her sister, who they have an estranged relationship. She climbs in under the back way of her sister's place, and they're not happy to see each other. A lot of character pieces can kind of be built here. Um, Charlie's ability to tell the truth has hampered her connection with her family, and has done something to play the ball, plays it wonderfully. She's done something with her father, and to the point where they've just become estranged. And M can realize the goodness that her sister does. Like, there are people probably out there who love what you do, and you're probably helping people. But you did not do that to us. You harmed us. You made us worse. And she just has nothing she wants to do with it. And Charlie has clearly been trying to help him. She's like, in the best way she can. Like, I'll send money and whatnot. But she's asking right now to get the keys to the boat, their dad's boat. This piece, without the rest of the episode, seems a bit odd. She meets her niece for the first time, and there's this whole piece about her swimming, which comes up later, which story writing makes sense, but it did seem a little bit on the nose. But her father, when they were kids, at the good times that she and her sister had, they used to go out on the boat, but then her dad would have them jump off the boat. He would drive back, and they would have to swim back. And she's like, well, I was just really good at it. It doesn't mean anything in that moment, but it does sort of pick back up a little bit later. Before that, she makes a couple calls. One of them calls, she called earlier. She called Luke and just like, hey, look at the tape. There's something on the tape. And Luke was like, I looked over the tape. I've come over the tape. There's nothing there, but I'll go back over to see if I find anything, which helps in the end. She calls Cliff after she leaves her sister's place. And Cliff is like, hey, come to the boat. Where are you? Come to the boat. I think we can get you out of this. We're gonna get out of here. After that, he called the police and like, hey, Charlie Cale just called me. She's coming to the marina. I'll hold her here. Get here. She arrives and they start having a talk. They go to the bottom cabinet of the boat and start talking. And it's at that point, nothing really comes off where Charlie feels like Cliff did this or is responsible for this for a while. They're having conversations like, oh, you loved him. Like, there's only two people who knew about the blue chip thing the chip stuff, to know that if you put a blue light on there, you might be able to take a shot. Like, he's talking as if, hey, this is what somebody would have done, and that the Hasp had this hit taken out on him. But she doesn't know at that moment that it's him. She still expects, hey, we're going to take this boat and get the hell up out of here. They go upstairs. He starts the boat, but he's stalling. He's like, no, I'm not going to move it. I'm not going to move it. She's still none the wiser. But he's like, hey, can you go to the bottom cabinet again and get my my laptop for like directions or something like that? She goes down and she starts searching around. That's when she finds that he has the black light poker chips that was the sort of the marker for where the shooter was able to shoot. And that's when she puts together like, oh, you're the one who took that hit. She then hears the sirens and the boat engine stop, and she tries to escape, and Cliff locks the door and closes it up, and they start talking through the door about, hey, I know you did this, blah, blah, blah. She's able to sort of unlock the door. He comes down. They get into a bit of a tussle. She hits him. There's been this running gag, not too funny, but this running gag of her getting this this dildo finger toy stuck to her hand from the party bus she was on. She socks Cliff in the face and it kind of jacks up his eye. She's able to escape from the back. There's a back hatch she climbs out of. She jumps off the boat and swims away. That's where that swimming stuff comes in. Cliff leaves the boat, and as he's leaving, he sees what he believes to have been the police, but it's the FBI pulling up, and Luca's a part of that. And Cliff's saying like, hey, she's just swim away. We got to go get her. It was like, no, we're not here for that case. The Sterling case, we're not here for. We're here for the murder of Natalie, and because he plays the tape that's saying that Sterling Jr. had him take a hit and carried out what he asked for the hit on Natalie and her husband or boyfriend. To which he's dead to rights, and they arrest him. In our next scene is we see Cale, Charlie and Luca meet in a restaurant, and Luca's got another promotion. He's like, yo, you're my good luck charm. If you ever need anything, keep my email. If you ever need anything, yo, please give me stuff. I'll take it. He also offers her like a job in the FBI, and she's like, I'm not taking that. She's funny in that she thinks that their friendship alone would have stopped him from arresting her. He's like, oh, wait, I just thought we were being friends. And he says, like, no, Cliff turned on everybody, gave up everything, including the kill for Sterling. So that's why you're off the hook. She's a bit naive in that. But she also says that, like, he also says that, like, Beatrix and them know of him turning and know of you being out there. So just be on the lookout. Just get out of here. Charlie then gets a call from Beatrix, which we're getting another voiceover from another Perlman. Instead of Ron, we're getting Rhea Perlman from Cheers fame. Rhea Perlman is threatening Charlie. She offers her a job first, like, hey, I got a lot of people who want to do a lot of things, and I heard about your little parlor trick that you can do. How about you come do that for me, and we'll see how it goes. I won't kill you, keep you around for a bit. Or you can attempt to run like you did with Mr. Sterling. The difference is here, I'm not of the tape recorder, old school vibe that he was. I use tech. I have ways. I'm way more ingenious and way more connections than he ever had. So if you run, we're going to find you and we're going to come after you. And Charlie just says she's going to take her chances and take that open highway and see what the world gives her. And it sort of is the breadcrumbs that leads to whatever season 2 is going to be, with Rhea Perlman now being the big bad. Look, it does tie a bow on the season. We get an end to Cliff. We get an end to Mr. Sterling. It just is a bit underwhelming from some of the episodes that have come before it. And I think it's been the most straightforward whodunit of all the episodes. Where we've had, like, the last episode was twist on twist on twist. You had no idea where it was going. This one, you could see from the very beginning where this was heading, and that sort of made it feel a bit underwhelming for me. Is it a bad episode? No. It's not fresh enough or new enough or feels inventive enough to be the season finale on what had so many out the box episodes. But it does at least set up the breadcrumbs of what we're going to do for the future. I do hope that if this continues on beyond season 3 and we introduce another big bad, I do hope that, one, we get to see Beatrix at some point other than just the final episode of whatever season 2 is. I would like that to be a little bit more interspersed into the season. I do love these all being standalones, but if we're going to attach that and make us wait from episode 1 to episode 10 before we get any type of conclusion on that, that's going to be a bit of a letdown. I'd rather not have that story at all and just have her being a person that just goes as a drifter. But that is literally just a set piece to have her go from place to place to place, which works. It works for the story beat, but when you actually pull it away and start thinking about it, we need to get a little bit more of that, so I can feel the weight, a little bit more of the tension coming from a closing wall that is occurring. Like, I feel like each time that Charlie went to each location, she was kind of okay. Like, yeah, other than her saying, like, oh, I need to leave, it didn't feel like the walls were closing in. And I think we need to get that intensity ratcheted up for more episodes in season 2. Otherwise, it feels like we're doing old hat and more of the same. But this episode, I did not care that much for. But as a whole, the season, I thought was a really fun show. And I do look forward to whatever things Charlie gets into on her mini adventures in the next season. What did you guys think about this last episode of Poker Face? And what did you guys think about the season as a whole? Go ahead and leave your thoughts and comments in the comments below. If you haven't already, you can follow us on Twitter at HollywoodADI. You can hit us up on email at HollywoodAlreadyDidIt@gmail.com. We also have a podcast by the same name. That's on Google Podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that plays podcasts. We're there. And like always, I got my ticket. You got yours.